To verify your identity, I need to adopt a more invasive procedure. Please look into the retina reader.
What do you mean by invasive procedure?
I will drill a small hole in your eye to analyze your optic nerve.
Are you joking?
Yes, haha.
A man with no past plans a journey into space to fetch a glowing pink anus for his 150-year-old dad. An evil corporate overlord dad who faked his own death, then retreated to his Antarctic robot base to work on solving eternal life. But while he's been puppeteering humanity from the shadows and blackmailing our wife, is it possible he's protecting humanity from something unfathomably worse? There are some pretty famous unfinished video game series and never-released video games that the whole world was looking forward to. And then there's Loading Human Chapter 1, developed by Italian studio Untold Games and released in October 2016 for PlayStation VR, Oculus VR, and Steam VR. Despite sitting at mostly negative reviews on Steam and only 11.6% of players completing the 3-hour game according to PlayStation trophy data, Loading Human is not a bad game. I actually enjoy it quite a bit, though it can be frustrating to play, both for game reasons and because it's a clumsy, early virtual reality game with awkward controls and some motion sickness. So I wanted to cover Loading Human Chapter 1 on this channel so the world can enjoy the story and appreciate what the developers accomplished without y'all having to actually play the game. Welcome, I'm Mothy, Jimothy for long, and we're covering another underappreciated virtual reality video game today. This is just the kind of thing that we do here now, I guess. Now, before we jump in, I am a small channel working alone, and I do greatly appreciate likes, comments, and shares if you end up enjoying the content and wish to help me succeed. Covering niche jank is certainly not meta for the algorithm, so I'm grateful for any and all help from y'all spreading the pain to a wider audience. Thank you so much. Now let's check out the game. After the tutorial, we gain consciousness on November 26th, 2185 to the virtual reality adventure. We are Prometheus Barak, sitting in a pile of empty alcohol bottles and books, watching the low Antarctic sun. The player won't know the timeline yet, but we've been preparing 23 months for a coming space mission, the last 5 months of which we've spent totally alone, so it makes perfect sense that we'd be drinking and reading and generally just jack torrentsing it up. Zip forward 5 weeks. Launch is tomorrow, so we've got to get cleaned up. A lot of VR games have you play as disattached hands, Rayman style, since the hardware only knows where our hands and our head are located. The rest of our body position must be inferred based on those, and it can look silly when the game doesn't get that correct. Loading Human doesn't care. They break the mold here by giving us not only a fully modeled body and face, but thoughts and a voice.
Coconut flavored hair conditioner, yummy.
It's a little unusual having our thoughts thought for us and our words spoken, but this is no character creator self-insert game. This drama is about Prometheus Barak, whose literal skin and brain we occupy. Playing such a strongly written role in first person is unique, and I found it interesting. It got me really role-playing and trying to feel how Prometheus feels instead of just playing as a gamer. We are locked in the bathroom until we finish shaving completely, which is a shame because this handlebar looks fantastic.
Prometheus,
Yes, Lucy.
are you ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, of course. I just need a good night's sleep.
Perfect. Origin is ready to take off, and the quintessence is waiting for you.
How about the Lazarus?
Both Miss Alice and your fathers are online. There is enough remaining energy to keep them activated for the entire duration of your journey.
So, our ship is called the Origin, we're headed to something called the Quintessence, and our dad, plus Alice, whose cosmetics were all over our bathroom, are sleeping in stasis pods called Lazarus until we get back. Our apartment is a damn pigsty. The base AI has plenty of robots who could be cleaning for us, but that's somehow our job? I found a packet of 0G meat portion with a nutritional value of 38.5 just lying on the floor. 38.5! One thing I respect about Loading Human is they wrote an entire near-future sci-fi world, and they're so excited to tell us about it. This game has 5 chapters. Well, segments, because the game itself is called Chapter 1, and that would get confusing. And each segment builds the world with a daily newspaper. In today's, it seems like most of the world governments are united now, and we've been colonizing space. But it seems like the world is not doing so hot financially, so there's hot debate on whether we should be exploring the stars or cultivating our garden here on Earth. They throw shade at the e-waste landfills of the 21st century that you and I are currently in the process of contributing to, and it seems esports are alive and well in the Loading Human world. On top of the newspaper, each segment has one piece of the accounts of one rebel who's been working to unmask the evil corporations of Loading Human World. He has no name, and frankly no gender, but I'll refer to him as the Lone Gunman as an X-Files reference, which feels appropriate. In this first entry, we learn the gunman was an officer of the Guardians of Peace, basically the worldwide police. He's found that while there may appear to be different corporations controlling the world, they all trace back to one man, Dorian Barrick, the player's father. Basically, the Guardians had been tracking terrorist smugglers of banned military robots to an exchange, only to find the cargo had legal papers that led back to Barrick Industries. And instead of backing down from the bureaucratic hell it would cause, he followed through and attacked the traffickers, who seemed oddly well prepared for his attack. Well, grab our keycard from upstairs, and the base AI, Lucy, gives us a hard time for drinking so much.
Your alcohol level is higher than usual.
Listen, for 6 months, I've done nothing but wait for Origin to take off all by myself. What else could I do except drink and read?
Use that keycard to put up the storm shutters to protect from a coming magnetic storm, but we weren't fast enough and the base loses power, making me think for just a second that this game might have horror themes, but that's sadly not really an emphasis. In the hallway is a cool HEV suit we don't get to use yet, and we gotta solve some puzzles to get down to the lab and fix the power. We grab our father's coiled sword walking cane, snap that in half, prying open the elevator doors, then use the broken cane portion again to open the top hatch, mount the elevator car up top, pull the brakes, and ride the elevator down to the bottom floor. A big red button then turns power back on in the basement.
Okay, it's on, but why is there no light?
I am back online.
Just open the pod bay door, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
One thing every science fiction VR game has is a constant, usually annoying, voice that talks to you the whole game. Sometimes it's disembodied in your radio, and often it's a floating white sphere with a child's voice, like a surprising amount of time. This game's companion voice is actually pretty chill and is just wired into the base, so effectively everywhere. Solve a little puzzle to get into the lab to find Alice's station pod broke? And it needs to be reconnected to my dad's pod to work, which is a weird dependency, no? Pick up Alice's photograph to reminisce and load some more human. January 6th, 2184, 2 years ago. We've just now arrived at the base, possibly by helicopter, and begin this segment walking to the entrance under the bright noontime sun. I thoroughly love these moments in virtual reality. Pretty natural environments, especially when you know there's no pressure to explore or loot and you can give in to immersion rather than gamify it too much. This is free gamer therapy. Prometheus's inner thoughts fill in some background as we walk up.
How did they used to say in class that the mission is the only thing that matters more than your life.
So hear me out. We never saw the moment we arrived. Our voice is kind of groggy, like we just woke up, perhaps from a long sleep or even stasis, and we have whispers echoing in our head that sound like an old man telling us the mission is more important than our own life. Did we, in fact, come from an academy, or were we kind of spawned here? Another line when we're reminiscing about our friends, I swear the whispered voice says, "You have no friends."
Me and my friends were studying inside the bottles of grog at the Shanghai bar. And then...
Something to think about. Also, this is the future, so we're too good for luggage. Our suitcase is a levitating white box that follows us around like a puppy. Lucy introduces herself once we reach the base. It checks our identity by having us answer 2 easy questions. The name of our father, who is the most influential man in the world, and where we went to college, which would also be pretty easy to look up about the son of such a man. And then we're inside to meet awkward love interest Alice Williams.
Welcome to Antarctica. Nice to meet you, Alice.
Prometheus.
So, how was the trip?
It was good, I guess.
Follow me. So, where did you come from?
New Berlin, Space Academy, freshman 42.
Shouldn't you be wearing one of those splendid white uniforms?
Yes, I should, but I had to abandon everything to come here. Army and splendid white uniform included.
Don't you miss it?
The academy? Nah. All my comrades left for the colony, so I had no reason to stay there anymore.
I don't believe it. No broken-hearted girl abandoned in Berlin?
No, but it could start now. Did I say something wrong?
Yeah, yes.
She starts out playful, but as soon as we reflect that energy, she's an ice queen. It appears we struck a nerve. The player is meant to unpack right away, but I took a walk around the greenhouse first. It's an impressive operation providing clean air and fresh food, plus there's a zen room in the back which seems nice to pass the time in. Let's see what we learned from today's newspaper. It's dated January of next year. All the newspapers are? I think that's an oversight more than a clue. Well, rich tech bros are pursuing immortal life. The Earth has been experiencing magnetic storms, but they don't get into why. The planet is massively overpopulated, and eco-terrorists want to sterilize most of humanity in order to save it. A new law bans AIs from having physical bodies in order to avoid an iRobot situation, and sports still exist. Could the writing in Loading Human use a copy edit and an edit? Yes, but you have to respect how many ideas they crammed into this game. The devs wanted to make sure we felt the stakes of this corporate-dominated, environmentally struggling planet. I also checked out the kitchen. There's a broken robot knee-deep in the passenger seat, and the kitchen is really cute and full of detail for a video game. The fridge happens to be empty, but we have plenty of beans. There's a coffee maker that pops out an espresso in just a few seconds, and we can order meals that pop out cooked in a few seconds as well. This would be such a good time to plug a sponsor, but your boy can only dream. Okay, on to our apartment, which used to be our dad's until he entered his Lazarus coffin. On the bar is part 2 of the lone gunman's account, picking up just after he attacked the suspiciously well-prepared smugglers. His partner died in the attack, and he got wounded and picked up by emergency beacon hours later. When he comes to, he found his recordings of the incident were wiped with no evidence of Barek's involvement. The gunman quit the Guardians of Peace after this and felt helpless in pursuing justice, so he survived day to day, depressed, until a dark web link arrived one day with a mysterious invitation. Okay. Unpack our floating suitcase to find we've packed only a photo of probably mom, our shaver, and a bottle of whiskey, which is odd since we don't drink, at least at this point.
This is very old technology.
My father bought it for me for my 14th birthday. It's one of the few memories I have of him.
Apparently we never saw our dad as a kid either, which may have much bigger implications than a simple cats in the cradle situation. The game is setting us up to have unclear circumstances of upbringing, and the conspiracy theorist in me is wondering at this point if we just fell out of a coconut tree.
Hey, Prom. Your father wants to see you. Now. Follow me.
Alice is already calling us Prom for short, so our manly charms seem to have worked after all. I brought along Dad's cane so I could roleplay a house.
So, Alice, you told me nothing about yourself. What's your story?
Well, it's not very exciting.
Shoot.
Okay. So, after earning a degree in genetic engineering in New Delhi, I started working in Liberia for a few years.
For whom? Oh, come on, just tell me.
Genomax.
Really?
Yeah, I know, terrible choice. But I resigned as soon as your father asked me to work full-time on the Lazarus project. Big fan.
Then I guess you know more about the mission than I do.
Here we are. We'll talk later.
That deflection is extremely loud, but we don't know it yet. The bottom floor of Dad's Antarctic base has 2 science-y labs. The cleaner of the 2 has a big, fabulous purple beam and whiteboards full of quantum mumbo-jumbo, but our business is not here. The other lab has our decrepit old dad talking to us like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle to introduce our mission.
Closer, my child. As you know, it is in this lab that for years I have fought my battle against death. But this base, once place of hope, has become my doom. I am dying. My body no longer responds to the treatments of the Lazarus. The cellular reconstruction is slow and the nanobots can't keep up with the speed of my decay. And I am losing my fight. Death is always faster. Now, even moving my lips requires me too much effort. I need the restoration to be faster. But my dark energy engines are weak.
Can't you build a better one? You invented them.
No. The energy I need is exponential. Only an infinitely superior source could stop my decay. And I found it, child. I found the quintessence. This is why I called you. This is why I need you.
The mission.
I want you to retrieve it for me. When the quintessence will be fed to my Lazarus, even death will be too slow to reach me. And I shall be born again. You will find the coordinates on my desk. Insert them.
And what comes now is a big part of why people hate this game. There are only a handful of puzzles in Loading Human Chapter 1, and you'll spend much longer figuring out where to go than solving anything. The puzzles aren't brain hard, they're just, where the heck am I supposed to go hard? Like Krayshawn. We're looking for coordinates on Dad's desk, in a room full of lots of waist-high furniture that might qualify as a desk. It took a few laps around the room, scouring every surface to conclude that the coordinates might not be in this room. Indeed, our dad's hologram bust has migrated to the other lab, so if this is his desk, the coordinates should be... No, that's a computer that wants coordinates. So, what, are they on a whiteboard near his desk? This other whiteboard? Nope. The coordinates are on this conference table on an unlit datapad. They're part of a note that ends with, quote, I should also have to find a name for... us? I don't mean to come off whiny, exploration is a big aspect of this game, only to illustrate why so few people finish this game and why it reviewed poorly. They just needed one playtester who wasn't already familiar with what to do, so they would know that they should telegraph things a little more clearly, either with lighting or, correctly translating desk as conference table. I really like the button press noise.
The quintessences are a scalar field of dark energy that drives the acceleration rate of expansion of our universe. This fifth fundamental force originates from the negative mass particles called furans and the quantum fluctuations of space-time. To retrieve it, you will guide a spaceship. A spaceship I call Origin.
Where is it? I didn't see anything while coming.
Access the hangar surveillance camera to see it. I will rest while waiting for you.
That is a nice hologram of the Quintussi. When we activate the right camera feed...
The robots that you see are engineers specialized in the construction of ships. The same one the Barik industry uses. Each of them is connected to UC, who then coordinates them for the construction. Like the slaves with the pyramids, they will work tirelessly during the next 2 years to take you and Origin toward Tower City, 10 light years away from here.
But nobody ever came out of the solar system.
Nobody ever had Origin. I am tired. Yuzi,
Yes, Dorian?
describe Origin.
Origin is powered by the only existent prototypes of the E-generation Barik Industries engines, making it the only spacecraft in the world capable of driving a man out of the solar system.
Describe his journey.
You will travel 9.5 light years at 94% of light speed in a state of cryogenic sleep. The journey will last 9 years to you and 22 here on Earth. At your awakening, you will retrieve the quintessence and bring it back to your father.
Now, disconnect from the lab.
Certainly, Dorian.
Listen carefully, Prometheus. Once the mission is complete, you will have to activate my regeneration procedure. For this, you will use a code which only you will know. If the code were to be inserted without the quintessence, the reactors would not support the required load and implode, therefore destroying the base and everything with it. That is why it is vital that you keep this activation code secret at all time to everyone, even to me. Too many are my enemies, and walls of ears and eyes. Do you understand me?
I understand, Father. What was that?
A biological pattern analysis. in order to verify your compatibility with Origin.
Well, from that number, it seems I just passed the test, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Now, go to Alice. She will tell you how to imprint the code in your memory. I am out of energy. It is time for me to sleep, not to die. Farewell, my child.
Dad probably should have verified our compatibility with his trillion-dollar spaceship before hiring us as its only crewmate. There's a lot going on here. First, so Lucy is an AI, and all of these robots are physical forms for her, so Dad's breaking the iRobot law. We also know from the Lone Gunman that Barak Industries was smuggling weaponized robots, so perhaps these are those? Lastly, it's a little obvious from how upfront our dad was about how inserting the code without the quintessence would kill him and blow up the base, that we're gonna get a chance to do so. In the sequels that are never coming out. Did I mention this is chapter 1 of 1? We'll talk about that later.
So what happened?
Well,
Your father is quite a dreamer, huh?
yeah. What are you doing?
Long story short, this engineer is to be thrown away. But I decided to take it apart to see how this generation is built.
These robots are legally owned by the manufacturer. It's against the law to tamper with them.
Not when the manufacturer is a father. Look, the liquid disk.
The memory.
Yep, the memory. This is the full recording of dissipative quantum brain.
And what's your point?
You know that quantum brains are made in the image and likeness of ours, right? So, if I could read one, in theory and with some minor modifications, I could also read yours.
You'd like to read my mind?
Could be interesting.
Then maybe you should just ask.
Can you pass me the screwdriver, please? Thank you.
My father told me that you have a code for me.
I don't. But I know where the printer is. Why don't you prepare some tea while I wait for the results?
Alice's priorities are having us make tea instead of downloading the danger code right away. This puzzle is straightforward at least. We need a red leaf and a blue leaf to mix into violet tea. The trick is that the red tea plant is hidden away in the Zen room, which I know because I explored earlier. I stick both leaves in the mixer, add this small Tupperware that I'm lucky I could find again because this game doesn't reset important items when you yeet them like most VR games do, and I get my tea blend. Then I got pretty confused trying to actually brew the tea and reinserted the Tupperware, but couldn't take it out again without grabbing 2 more leaves and mixing double tea. Turns out we don't brew it here, just blend it. Then remembering the obscurity of the coordinates puzzle, I broaden my search and figure maybe I can brew the tea in the kitchen. So I return and try to fiddle with the stove. No, Alice just wanted the dry leaves.
Oh, finally. My tea. Thank you. Once you taste it, you'll understand why I love it.
No thanks, I'm not the herbal tea kind of guy. Just show me where the code imprinter is.
You've come a long way. Relax. There's no rush. We have 2 years left to prepare for the mission, and this space can be very boring. Trust me, you want to try that tea.
Maybe you're right. I could relax a bit.
Prometheus, why don't you try put it on one of your father's finals? I'll make the tea meanwhile.
If you get the feeling she's maybe trying to purposefully impede our work, that's a feeling that makes sense. Alice knows more about the project than we do, after all. Choose our music from a selection of fine Italian vinyls. I chose one called Demoni, and hopefully it won't get my channel demonetized. It sounds a little bit like Pine Grove. If you try to return to Alice without pressing the button next to the phonograph that basically turns on AirPlay, she says it's not loud enough in the kitchen and sends us back. Then something very strange happens when we try to drink Alice's tea. The HUD shows the date April 1st, 2184, 9 months in the past, and we're placed in a virtual wireframe world to reconstruct the events that occurred, Ethan Carter style. Gameplay-wise, this is a fun puzzle, but is it reading too much into things to ask what's going on? Are we somehow actually a robot or a clone implanted with memories we can't reconstruct? It would make sense with the whispers in our head as we approach the base, and how our only memory of our dad is receiving a razor for our 14th birthday. And it makes sense out of that joke Alice made about being able to read our mind after she scanned the robot brain. All that doesn't fit in is how Alice is flirting with us. I guess she might not know. Segment 3, June 20th, 2184, 6 months after we arrived. We abruptly load into a fun asteroid shooting minigame. This got physically tiring because the PlayStation Move controller triggers aren't placed great for spamming this much. This segment is so early VR game. When home VR headsets first came out, they were dominated with low-effort arcade shooters. They're still a common genre even now. Something about VR just naturally gets developers making arcade shooters the way that Evolution naturally keeps making crabs. Along with rock climbing and roller coaster segments, it makes a triad of basic bitch VR gameplay that you see in almost every early VR adventure title. They're not unfun per se, but I always kind of laugh when they're loosely shoehorned into a game like this. Beat the final boss Red Asteroid, and some dialogue between Dorian and Lucy attempts to justify these minigames as training for our mission.
The simulation you tried is what I was able to compute with the available data on the Oort cloud, but given the lack of success case, I cannot forecast the worst case scenario.
That's easy, I die.
Oh, we have 2 years ahead of us.
Well, we had 2 years, we're down to 18 months. Again, the writing was not particularly careful about consistency. Let's see what's in the news today. The United Asian Governments have a base on Jupiter's moon, Europa, which is ironically named. The Earth's population broke 20 billion, which is straight murdering the Earth, so the government is bringing back a 1/3 of a child per family act, which doesn't seem like it did much the first time. Then in lifestyle, a cyborg whale was born. It sounds like recreational drugs are relatively legal these days, and esports are still esporting. We also get part 3 of the Lone Gunman's account. It sounds like since receiving that dark web link, he's come to spearhead a war against the corporations and has done a fair bit of damage, but the corps struck back and are currently winning. They're putting out way too much disinformation and false leads for the rebels to possibly wade through, which hits a little close to home. The gunman meanders edgily before disclosing his main point. It seems like Dorian Barak holds unimaginable power, and he's the single puppet master behind all of the megacorps. Okay, we have 2 more training games to complete.
What is this?
Origin pressure stabilizer panel.
Useful only if your father's speculations about the gravity ocean are correct.
They are not speculations. The gravity ocean exists.
Everything is a speculation, as everything is a hypothesis.
Not feelings. Senses, they are real. They exist.
Senses and feelings can be virtualized. It is actually highly probable that this whole reality is only a very well-structured simulation.
This exchange again hints that we may not be a real boy, but some kind of cyber Pinocchio with implanted memories. This second minigame is sweet. Just punch the colored yellow panel before it turns red. I locked in and did not blink for this because I wanted the trophy you get for a perfect score. Then we're rushed directly into the final training game. We've got a Superman 64 it through some rings with a clunky ship, but we can slow to a crawl and easily nail this one because there's no timer. It's sluggish and boat-like, but this is actually how it might feel to pilot this thing. As far as any of these games count as real training, this one is the most believable. Then, disaster.
What's that?
The system has detected an early fire in the greenhouse.
Lucy,
Yes?
send the robots to extinguish it. Prometheus and I will continue the training.
Alice is trapped inside, and it might kill her.
What?
She's still alive, but she cannot exit.
I need to go, Father.
All right. But do not take too many risks. I need you alive.
Geez, Alice is trapped in a fire and Dorian wanted us to keep training. This guy might not be a good person. Make it down to the greenhouse to find the fire raging out of control. This is actually really stressful and a sweet set piece in VR. There's no urgency, but it's more fun to roleplay like there is. But that kind of goes out the window when they halt the action to make us reconstruct the events of the fire in another Ethan Carter minigame. Has anyone else played that? Should I stop referencing the vanishing of Ethan Carter? It's pretty good. This puzzle phrases things pretty weirdly, but basically the sunlight caught a magnifying glass wrong and started the fire. Resume the hectic music as we cut a path toward Alice with our minor handheld fire extinguisher. She's in the Zen garden and something has got her trapped.
I'm stuck under this tree. I can't get up.
Do you feel any broken bones?
I just want to get out of here.
Take it easy, I got it. Just do what I say. Can you sneak under the tree?
I think I broke my hand. I don't want to die in here. I just want to get out.
Don't worry, Al. I'll take care of you. We need to go right now before it's too late. Alice, do you understand me? We need to go now. If we stay here, we'll die. Come with me.
Please don't leave me.
I'm here to stay. How do you feel?
My hand still hurts. Look.
Yeah, it might be broken. You should have some medication.
Can you take care of it?
I'm not a doctor, but I'll do my best.
Okay. How do we start?
I guess by taking off that protective suit of yours.
Oh, yes. That sounds like a good idea.
Is it?
Kiss me, you'll find out.
Bro, this woman moments ago had her hand broken and was pinned by a flaming tree. This is not the time to put the move on her. But what's even weirder is that Alice is somehow into it. You miss all the shots you don't take, I guess. The trophy for this is called I Kiss Like a Man. Just thought y'all should know that. Segment 4. It's 5 months later, 1 year until our mission starts, and we've snatched every light bulb in the base to propose to Alice tonight. Before starting that, take a moment to breathe in this beautiful scene with me. Moments like this and the long snowy walk up to the base earlier are where I find a lot of payoff in this janky game. It's the Antarctic night sky with Aurora Australis glowing and a beautiful moon. No music, no sound, but light gusts of wind and our own footsteps on powder snow. VR games love to shout, "Look, I'm a VR game," with those weird minigames from earlier, when all they really need to do is give us a pretty spot to vibe in. Find the 4th lone gunman account today, which is a big one. We learn a religious zealot attempted to assassinate Dorian 85 years ago and failed, but Dorian chose to allow the public to believe his death, moving to this base to continue his work in secret. And an even bigger reveal, he says that someone very close to Dorian has betrayed him already. If that's true, Alice seems plausible. We also learned of a secret project called Starship City, but we get no more details on that this game. We can check out more of our apartment while dripping bathtub noises emanate from the bathroom and find today's newspaper. A big terraforming project failed somewhere, and the residents of the area are infected with something called the D virus, which is basically me when Ada Wong. A spaceship attempted to leave the solar system, blowing up to kill all 12 on board, which is a little concerning given our own mission to leave the solar system. Basketball still exists, but it's called the INBA, which must mean the International National Basketball Association. And remember how there's a cyborg whale? Well, we have cyborg kittens as pets now, too. Find Alice's diary on her side of the bed, which goes on about her love for Italy, though she missed cheeseburgers. A hint on her favorite food for later. And the lab is chill today. Dorian is silent, and Alice is at work probing a rat brain, though we can't ask her about light bulbs.
Hey, honey.
Hey, do you know where the light bulbs are?
Try the storage room.
I think we ran out of those.
How's that possible? There were plenty of them.
Whatever.
So our goal this segment is to romance Alice with a perfect dinner and then propose to her. I actually really enjoy this romance plot in the middle of my science fiction adventure. It works well in VR, especially playing as Prometheus Barak and not our gamer self. Regarding the nature of loading humans' planned multi-installment releases, Chapter 1 is all about preparations for the space adventure. And what better way to raise the stakes and make us care about the outcome of our mission than to have us fall in love with a girl back home? Having the player play out the romance rather than walking into an existing one and being told, "This is your wife," hits a lot stronger, even if it's corny. Now, fixing the light bulb for our proposal gets mentioned in every negative review of this game. Asking Alice for a bulb sends us to the supply closet. Visiting the supply closet for a bulb has Lucy redirect us back to Alice in a loop. What you're supposed to find, without any help, is this lamp in the foyer. But even if you think to steal a bulb from a working fixture, that doesn't work until you notice the small handle that's hard to highlight even if you know about it, which then lowers the lamp to make the bulb accessible. This took so long for me and everyone else in the world to find when we first played.
Now it should work. Oh, great. I guess now I just need to prepare that perfect dinner that she's always wanted.
With our proposal ready in lights, we have to prepare the perfect dinner for Alice, after solving another event reconstruction puzzle in the lab. Then flash forward an hour.
Prometheus? Prom, can you pass me the hair conditioner, please?
What?
The hair conditioner. It's over there.
Oh, yes. Of course.
Oh boy. The back of the box for Loading Human Chapter 1, yes, this game got a physical release, says, develop complex relationships, solve dilemmas, and fall in love. And, well, yes, this scene is gratuitous thirst, but it's a stated goal of the game for us to fall in love, so I kind of enjoy these vulnerable moments. It's another swing the game took, and I respect that, even if it came out a little awkward. The weirdest thing about all this is how Alice manages to maintain such an even tan living in Antarctica. Okay, we're getting dinner ready. We've got to fetch a bottle of Brunello, which is a real DOCG Italian wine. Dorian has good tastes, and cheeseburgers. There are only 2 bottles of Brunello in the kitchen, and you can actually fumble these and break them, so exercise caution. Bring dinner to the Zen room in the greenhouse, whose walls are giving The Matrix tonight, and light some candles.
I need to put some music on. Her favorite song is the one I chose the day we met when I arrived at the base.
Choosing the right music is kind of neat. The game remembers the vinyl we played on the day we met Alice, and we have to play that same record again for maximum romance points. Then our girl struts in, smooth as silk. I down my glass of wine to calm my nerves, which makes it kind of funny when we toast in a minute. I have to say, this is pretty spectacular. That looks exactly like my favorite dish. How did you know? I did my homework. To us. To us. I love this wine. It's my favorite. This night is truly perfect. Thank you. So, always determined to save your father with this suicidal mission? Yes, although I must say, the idea of losing you for so long breaks my heart. 22 years is too much for us, Prom. I wish there were other choices, but there is always a choice. If I don't go, he'll die. He'll die anyway. What do you mean? I'm afraid there's nothing left to do for Dorian. His decay has accelerated more than expected over these last months, and even if you could bring back the quintessence, there wouldn't be enough time to save him. Nani? The only way he could survive that long would be with an induced coma. But it's not feasible. I still have to try. You know what I think about the mission. Listen, Prom. What? Come on, spit it out. Your father is not who you think he is. Please, Alice, this is not the right time to go around. Dorian is a lowly and desperate man. Alice, he used everyone. He used me and even you, his son. He raised you to make you his own personal courier. He's 137 years old, more than 3 lives behind and no son. Don't you ever wonder why you were born? Why at some point Dorian decided to give birth to new life? There's so many things that you don't know. Prometheus!
Not now, Lucy.
I'm afraid I have to insist.
Don't you see we're talking?
Your father wants to talk to you.
2 minutes and I'll be there.
Now.
He said later, Lucy.
Prometheus, please, come.
Prometheus, do not believe any word he says.
Do not interrupt me. Alice tells the truth. I hid too many things for too long. It is a way to protect those we love. Right, Alice? It is a way to protect those we love. Is it not?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Listen, I want Prometheus to stay here on Earth with you.
What?
Prometheus, let me explain to you everything while looking into your eyes like father and son do. Come to the lab.
Go. I'll wait here.
Okay.
Damn it, Dad, you had all year to talk and you ruined my engagement dinner with this crap? This scene does make Alice seem like the spy mentioned by the lone gunman. The way Dorian silences her by mentioning protecting those we love really makes it sound like he has her here under duress with her family threatened. We've also heard some disagreement by now about Dorian's age. We've heard close to 2 centuries, we've heard 150, and Alice just said 137. It's unclear if the variance is the game's inconsistent writing, or if it's intentional that nobody is quite clear on Dorian's background. So what did Dad need to interrupt my romantic dinner for?
I was lucky enough to live more than any man has ever experienced before. And it's not fair that I now sacrifice your life to get me one more. You are free. Prometheus, feel free to finally live your life.
What about my mission?
You still have one. Be happy and proudly carry the name of Barik over time. Now, I am tired, and I think you have a very important thing to do. Go, son, and make her happy.
Yeah, we were making her happy before this. But what a level-headed message from the guy who's been built up all game as this evil corporate string puller. Did we just show him the power of love? Don't need no credit card to ride this train. Put a ring on that virtual woman.
Ready for tonight?
You tell me.
What you did was fantastic. You were wonderful, and you remembered everything. I loved it. Now it's my turn.
If we correctly served Alice a hamburger with wine and put the right music on, we forget all about that drama with Dad and share some adult time with our new fiancé. Only the final segment remains. So, flash forward 12.5 months. We clearly did not give up on the mission and live happily ever after. Alice is sleeping in a Lazarus pod now, and we're pissed off at our dad. His blessing must have been a bluff until he could trap Alice in stasis, probably with the help of illegal AI robots, and blackmail us to go on the Quintessence quest after all. Someone less charitable might even conclude he hired Alice, intending her as bait for us this whole time, since it's not like we have other compelling reasons to want to help our dad. We also have to put up another magnetic storm shutter. Geez, with how often I have to manually save this base from shutting down or burning down, I'm not confident it's gonna keep Alice, much less Dad, alive for 22 years while I'm out in space. We also have to enter a 6-digit code using future keys to restart Alice's life support. There's a final newspaper today. We learn there's a human colony on Mars which is strongly religious, and they want independence from Earth. The British royal family is still a thing. Barik Industries has a monopoly on human DNA research. Barik Industries had an employee with 3 limbs crushed in a workplace accident, which Barik replaced and added 2 more to make sort of a biotic Machamp. And the Super Bowl is still happening in 2186, but now the players use robot armor. I really say this with no ill will, but it sounds like a 12-year-old came up with these newspaper headlines. Around the lab, it looks like we've been taking our meals here and getting a little The Shining with our whiteboard art. Sending us out alone into space for 22 years is clearly not going to go well, and I love the dramatic tension created by the naivety of Prometheus going along with it when it's clear to us that he shouldn't. They still never allow us to access the Alice lab floor of the base. I wonder if another chapter was going to give us Alice's backstory and reveal her arrangement with Dorian. In the kitchen, find the 5th and final part of the Lone Gunman's account. It turns out he chose not to kill Dorian after Dorian revealed he knew everything about the rebels and had been making the choice not to impede their operations. He's fighting a bigger war the rest of humanity knows nothing about and believes the rebels can have their energies directed in a productive way instead to help him against this unknown enemy. I love the seed that this plants, and it's absolutely critical for respecting the plot of this whole game. I've been leaning Dorian bad for most of the game, but now it seems there may be some extraterrestrial threat he's secretly been keeping us all safe from, X-Files style.
How come this base is in such bad shape?
Well, you did nothing but drink and read in the last 6 months.
Yeah, but how about all the robots we have here? What's their purpose if not to repair the damages?
Their purpose is origin, just like yours is the mission.
Yeah, sure, the mission.
Lucy's robots are too busy working on the spaceship to maintain the base, but she actually has many more than she's let on, as we'll see soon, so I definitely think that there's something to it when Prometheus asks what the robots are even for. Now, the attention Loading Human did not put into their writing, they put into the environment. After 6 months of living here alone, most of the kitchen supplies are run down. the meal cooker inventory is down to its last cheeseburger, and the fruit bowl, which once burgeoned, is down to 1 banana. The state of the place really does look like a drunk young man has been living here alone for a while. And there's one final aggravating puzzle to solve today. The shield panel froze while we were using it. Hot coffee doesn't melt it, but this wound spray from the first aid kit, randomly, is very hot. With the shields in position then, Prometheus is ready to hit the road.
The storm conditions are getting worse really fast. I think it is necessary to start the takeoff right away.
Oh, already?
There is no time to lose. The magnetic storm is likely to destroy my transfer systems. And you need me on that ship if you want to come out of this alive.
I know.
Are you ready?
Lucy, are you 100% sure that Alice will survive until I come back?
Yes.
So let's go.
I will begin my transfer protocol.
I'll see you on the ship.
Don't forget to put on the spacesuit before you leave. I'll unlock the cabinet.
They finally let us equip the HEV suit and say our goodbyes to the base. That tube that we've seen out our apartment window all game is a track for a small tram that brings us to the Origin on its subaquatic launch platform as credits roll. And honestly, hell yeah. Playable credits are something you get more often in VR games, and I'm here for it. The adventurous yet sentimental piano music has me worrying about my 22-month journey into the cold reaches of space after we just spent the game appreciating the beauty of the Antarctic night and becoming engaged to a lovely tan woman that our dad is blackmailing. Once aboard the ship, I can hang out here as long as I want to, staring out at the beautiful midsummer sun over low-poly Antarctic mountains, knowing that once I sit down, there's no going back. The feeling is doubled because knowing that this ends my relationship with the video game also hits me with that kind of nostalgia. So, we blast off, and Loading Human Chapter 1 is closed. Let's talk about money. Some game reviewers make it a point not to consider price when reviewing a game. Others do factor it in. Well, Loading Human Chapter 1 is a strong argument in favor of price-aware reviews because this thing launched at $40. And it's a short game. If you don't get stuck wandering for a light bulb forever, you're looking at maybe 2 hours of gameplay here. But let's even put aside the short runtime. Calling your game Chapter 1 and still charging $40 for it leaves a bad taste in the player's mouth, since they're now expecting to be charged another $40, $80, who knows how much for the rest of the story as it comes out. For this price, people were not willing to look past its flaws. To be fair, the game got a permanent price drop to $10 in 2021, but that's long after Loading Human had left the culture. Legit, I believe leaving out Chapter 1 from the title would have made it receive kinder reviews. And it wouldn't have confused anyone because there never was and never will be a Chapter 2. Due to the game's commercial failure, the later chapters never happened. As far as I can tell, they weren't even discussed. So me and the other 11 Loading Human fans out there are stuck, never learning what Dorian's hidden war is, or whether we can save Alice. It's really sad to me that Untold Games weren't rewarded for the risk they took establishing an ambitious sci-fi epic, since they actually did a great service to virtual reality. Let's speak on that. So far on the channel, I've picked some of the more complete games to cover, but are you aware how few actual complete games there are for virtual reality? Especially back in 2016, before the Resident Evil ports and high-budget VR native titles like Metro Awakening. There have always been a bunch of derpy VR games. Burger cooking games, or carnival darts games, or sitting in a turret and blasting aliens. Even among bigger budgets and known IPs, we get a lot of experiences more so than actual games. I'm looking at Rick and Morty, I'm looking at Doctor Who, I'm looking at Batman, but whole-ass virtual reality games are all too few. Untold Games really did the medium a service by developing actual video game Loading Human Chapter 1. I will stand by that. They had so much faith in their game, and much of that is justified. For one, Loading Human actually looks pretty great for a 2016 VR game. Certainly the easier approach on the limited power of a VR system is to go for a cartoony style to get away with fewer polygons and simpler textures, but Loading Human gave us a photorealistic sci-fi base with fully modeled human bodies and lip-synced dialogue, and that deserves a lot of praise. They also did so much world building and managed to work some intrigue into their writing. I ended this game with a pretty complete picture of their world in the year 2185, despite never stepping outside the base. And the Lone Gunman's accounts read like a thriller, like a season of the X-Files, setting us up for later chapters to cast a shadow of gray morality on our father, the AI Lucy, Alice, even our own actions as we make the choice to deliver the quintessence or to keep it from Dorian. This game took an emotional risk as well. Loading Human isn't just about the space adventure. They tried something out with the new medium and actually inserted the player into a first-person romance. Yes, that sounds a little cringe as I write it, and I think they played into the cringe a little with the bathtub scene and the amount of wiggle in Alice's hips. but they used the tool of virtual reality to activate our emotions and develop this relationship with Alice in order to raise the impact of leaving Earth for 22 years. And I'll be honest, it gave me just a bit of loss and sad feelings to be done with this game as a result. It is very different watching a character say goodbye to their wife in a flat game versus doing it yourself in Loading Human. And as I mentioned, this game even got a physical release. You don't do that for a game you don't have faith in, and that will keep it playable long after anything happens to our digital libraries. There are plenty of legitimate reasons to dislike this game. The original price point was way too high for a Part 1. Finding where to go for some of the puzzles may well account for over 50% of your playtime, and the movement controls aren't great, but I didn't harp on that. But it's not like the game is fundamentally bad, and it's certainly way better than the Steam reviews would have you think. Ultimately, my video here is about a middling sci-fi adventure game and the tragic tale of a Part 1 game that will never see its Part 2. But it's also the tale of taking risks in art, being confident in what we create, and taking pride in the act of creation. Thank you as always for watching my video. I knew this one was a tougher sell going in, but it kind of got stuck in my head recently, the same way that songs can, and I wanted to get this game out of my system by sharing the tale of this abortive yet ambitious early VR title. The community has a little Discord server called The Mafia that you're welcome to join if you want to keep in touch between uploads, and I go live once a week, usually to play cheap horror games. Links for those are below. Also, thank you very much to my patrons. I say this every time, but especially on a video like this one, thank y'all so much for supporting the channel and enabling me to cover lesser-known video games. I greatly appreciate each of you. I am getting a lot of personal fulfillment out of covering these odd games, and it really warms my heart when I get comments that enjoy this style of video too, so it's probably something we're going to see more of in the future. Stay tuned. Until then, see you later, alligator.